Jonathan, you're on.
So do I just go through this whole thing, or do I just go with the introductions?
Go ahead with whatever you want to tell them. And we're good. We're patient. We'll
Okay, we
listen.
got a full script here.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jonathan Gardner. I am a 20-year-old self-advocate, cancer survivor, and decision maker who happens to have autism. I am one of the official ambassadors for Operation House Call. A few fun facts about me are, I enjoy video games, anime, wrestling, and advocating for myself and others. Operation House Call is so very important to me because I experienced a lot of different situations during, before, and after my cancer diagnosis. Some were good and some were bad. It all started when my leg was hurting me and my mom would bring me to the doctors to figure out what was going on. We had to go to a lot of health professionals because no one would believe I was actually in pain. One of the health professionals actually told my mom to bring me to a psychologist because they thought the pain was just in my head and not real. I wish I said to them, show me I'm crazy, don't just tell me. Long story short, it was not until we found a health professional who looked me right in the eye and told me that she had no idea what was wrong with me, but she was going to find out. The plan was to get an MRI done. Another long story short, it took a total of 3 MRIs because the medical staff doing the MRI kept saying to me, it must be the loud noise and that is why you can't sit still for the test. When I kept telling them it was my back that was painful, they just kept dismissing it. I finally just said, just knock me out for the test. And then that is when I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma. My current medical team of medical professionals have become like family to me. They tell me that they are thankful to me for teaching them so many lessons that make them better doctors and nurses. They saved my life and respected and validated my voice no matter how it was delivered. For example, I needed a nurse to come to my home so that I could go home for the weekends, and we could not find one that would access my port. Well, my medical team held a meeting over this, and one of the nurses said, I will go to his house after work each day and do this for him. Long story short, she made a makeshift IV pole that would hang from my living room window, and she came every round of chemo when I needed fluids when I was home to access my port. This allowed me to receive fluids and be in the comfort of my own home. She also gave me a shot that I needed after each treatment so that my mom did not need to do it. She is just an incredible person who wanted me to feel the best I could, and that also goes for everyone else that is part of my medical team. I actually would have been diagnosed 5 months earlier if my voice was listened to. There was just too much focus on the fact that I was autistic over me being a person in pain. I feel so strongly that when a person that may happen to have a disability comes into the hospital and may present with a so-called behavior, that everyone needs to understand that people with behaviors because they are trying to communicate something. So please think about how you are going to communicate with your patients so that they can get the best possible care. I truly believe as human beings we are all different, whether you have a disability or not. Your voice matters. Everyone deserves to have the medical care they need. Thank you. And physically abused by the teachers. And basically they were just horrible. Like, I won't go into full details right now because that's a whole other basket case. But to bring it long story short, basically they, like, one I personally believe had no idea what they were doing. The other one was just horrible. Like, my mom knows most of it, honestly. Like, normally I would have prepared a statement for this if I knew I was talking about this, but
Surprise.
yes, surprise, yeah, indeed. But yeah, I just remember just being basically talked down to and not even treated like a human being, really. Just treated like not like mattering, if that makes sense. Like a meat, and I remember this specific line that my mom always told me that they did tell us, basically, that I would end up living in a loft apartment eating a bologna sandwich. And my mom told them, first of all, he doesn't even like bologna. Second off, you're wrong. And to this day, I still believe that, and I'm still defying that vision.
Yeah.
And I'm going into my own vision nowadays, fulfilling my happiness.
Yeah.
So this is a bill called supported decision making. That's the thing, right?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's this bill called supported decision making, and while I was going through the ER thing and being rolled up, basically, we had a little bit of pushback, me and my mom, during that time, and basically, I think
Jen,
they.
did you want to tell them supported decision making?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Tell
My
them what
brain
it
is
is
so
first.
foggy
I
right
don't think
now.
people probably
I have chemo brain is fun, people.
Tell them what it is first and then why it's
Yeah, okay.
important
So
to you.
supported decision making.
First, then.
There we go.
They're no different than us.
No.
Sorry, my brain is just so fried right now. Okay. So, supported decision making is an alternative to guardianship, where it gives more power to the person with a disability than the guardian. Basically, for me, I would be able to choose my supporters, namely my mom, dad, brother, and all that stuff from there. With a guardianship, I wouldn't be able to. A random court would be able to. And from there, it would just be, you don't know me, why would I trust you with this decision?
And why was supported decision making so important when you were sick with cancer?
Oh, jeez. I'm gonna give the abridged version since I don't know how much time we have left. So, so there was this time that I was going through. At this point, I need to put people in the mindset. 6 months of chemotherapy and 2 weeks of radiation. Your mind is really warped at this point. At the point of like, what is happening to my life? So I just come home one day and I'm doing this stuff like back to back and back, basically at this point. And I'm just like, I just go in my room and I just break. I just like go in there and just cry and just let out all my emotions. Then my mom comes in and says, "What's wrong?" After a little bit of a talk, I basically said, "I don't care what happens to me. I just want it to stop. I don't care if the tumor takes me." She takes a minute to come back. Well, takes a minute. We collects her thoughts. She comes back not as my mom, not as Nancy Gardner, but as my support person. She basically said she had no idea what she was going to do, but she was going to find out. So from there, we called my medical team. I gave them my blessing, and from there they came up with a plan that suited my needs the best. And if you guys want to learn more about supported decision making, just look it up online. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere. Actually, while you were talking, it reminded me of a story that I actually went through.
Okay.
And I think it does relate to this, actually. So there was this time that I generally thought I was having a heart attack while I was going into chemotherapy, and Mom was nodding her head because she knows what story I'm talking about. So after I waking my mom up, also this was at like 2 in the morning. So after we woke them up, we basically drove down to the emergency room. I know I'm going to be skipping some parts in this, but we're getting to the important part now. So when I got to the emergency room, I get into the room. I'm basically dehydrated, tired. It's like, I don't know, like 8 in the morning maybe. I don't know. I lost track of time after a while. I feel like my heart is just like, and then this nurse comes in and goes, "Hi." Yep. And I'm just like, dear God, no. So after a while of this back and forth, and also after a while, she just stopped showing up. After that, like, I think it took like 3 hours to get maybe like a water bottle. And that was after I became so dehydrated that to the point that I was needing an IV. That's how bad it was starting to get. And then after a while, she came back in and I just broke. I just said, "Get out, just get out." I in tears, begging for someone else. And I remember this nurse that just came in with an Italian ice and a water bottle, and I just said, "Thank you, this is all I asked for." Then I got transferred into a room and stayed overnight and watched some SmackDown. Big wrestling fan, yeah.
So Jonathan, that nurse was like very baby talking you and not listening to you, and
Yeah, like basically dismissed me. I think it took like maybe 9 hours maybe to get to a room.
My question is for everyone, family included. So there's been obviously a lot of talk about, the right way to communicate. But what is the best way that you feel is to how would you like to be interacted with, or how would you like your children to be interacted with, especially when some of those behaviors are happening? People look, or people may have expressions, or whatever that may be, sometimes unconsciously, but like, what are things that, especially as healthcare providers, we can be aware of, and how to interact in certain situations, or what would make you feel the most comfortable?
You mind if I take this one first?
Yeah, you can take it. I come after. Yeah.
So I was actually a skills trainer for a while now. So I got a lot of information from that I believe could actually help towards this question. It would really depend on the person. Like, I always say that if you meet one person with autism, you meet one person with autism, and that goes for any type of disability as well. Like, you could meet someone like me one day, or you can meet someone like this guy, or you can, or you can meet one of my former clients who was more different to me, or someone like Marla's kids. It all depends on the situation. I personally believe there's no really, I would say, right way to know immediately. But if you can probably see how the parents, I guess, interact with them a little bit, you can get a sort of an idea to do that, or maybe even ask how to do it. Possibly all of your guys' time doing this, and this, I guess this could go for anyone really, not even disability people, is the connection you make with your patients. No matter what, it's all about the connections. And really, that's all I have to say, is try to find family, and not like another patient or another case or whatever. They make you feel like your family, and at the end of the day, that's really what any of you would want. Like, I always say, my father always tells me, treat people how you want to be treated, and that is what I believe in anything, like all that stuff.